pleased to introduce Kelly Kobza, Founding Director of Greater Good International. Now her talk is entitled Moving from Poverty to Prosperity Through Literacy, a Journey in Haiti. After traveling to Haiti following a devastating earthquake there, Kelly founded an education program in the rural town of Ansagalet on the Haitian island of La Govna. Kelly believes that through education, children learn to read so that they may read to learn. So children participating in her program blossom academically, socially, emotionally, and economically. So please welcome Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction and beautiful poems that you blended together to preface my talk. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. I can. Whew. My nerves get to me just for a minute and then they'll go away. So I'm going to do this quick. It's meant to be a 20-minute slideshow and I'm doing 15. So Haiti. It's 2 hours from Miami by plane and about 100 years behind in infrastructure and society. And so it's on the island of Hispaniola. It shares the island with the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is a much more developed nation than Haiti is. And then the island of Lagonav is there, and the red spot is where we are, to give you some reference. Haiti is a republic with elected officials. The most important piece there is the income of $1,400 per year, annually. That's the average income. Okay. Here we are coming in on the ferry to the island, to the town of Ansagalet. There she is. This is an aerial view. You can take a small Cessna plane, which I do sometimes. And this is an aerial view of the town. And then up in the left, center top, you see that little green rooftop. That's where I stay. And the bigger building is where the school is. Just to give you reference. And this is Ansagalet. It's a very sleepy little fishing town. And this is examples of housing in Ansagalet. And the issues on the island and in Haiti in general are these. And then, of course, for me, the most important is education. I'm a teacher. I grew up in Palo Alto. I went to school. I came back to Palo Alto and taught in Palo Alto. And then I decided I needed to go out and share my privilege because it's all happenstance. Where you're born and what community you're born into is happenstance. So how did I happen to be born and live in a privileged community, exceptionally privileged community? And when my kids went off to school, I decided to go and share my privilege and my expertise in any way that I could, and this is what I ended up doing. Some stats on Haiti. The most important one is the literacy rate. Well, to me, the most important one. They're all important because these are all really important. But literacy. 59% of the people know how to read and write. That's abysmal. It's the lowest in our hemisphere. Not the lowest in the world. So I went out at 11 o'clock one weekday morning to see what I would find. And this was it. Lots of children carrying water for their parents, children playing, and just being kids. And then I went out again at 2 o'clock to see what I found. And there were children coming home from school, and motorcycles are the main mode of transportation besides walking. And so, and yeah, that's 5 people on a motorcycle, which is not uncommon. So here are some facts about education in Haiti. So 50% of kids are attending school. Of the 50%, 30% drop out by 3rd grade. Why? Back to that $1,400. It costs $200 to $250 to send a kid to school for a year. So by 3rd grade, parents don't have enough money to send everybody to school, and they think, well, I'll send this one to 3rd grade, and then I'll send that one to 3rd grade, and then this one. And so they're shuffling kids, and some kids aren't going at all, just the firstborn makes it through school. That's common. And then 60% of the kids who are left in school drop out at the 6th grade, which is a matriculation exam. And the reason that number is so high is that that exam is in French. Haitians speak Creole. All Haitians speak Creole. Parle Creole too. I speak Creole now too, fluently. But all Haitians speak Creole. And then educated Haitians speak French. But the whole system is in French. You apply for a job in French. Job applications are in French. Voting ballots are in French. The newspapers are in French. The first exam you take for matriculation is in French. And if you haven't learned French well, then you don't pass that exam. And then 29% of Haitians have an education beyond or attended secondary school. Okay, this is just graffiti documenting sort of what I was talking about. People are graduating from high school as senior citizens. Here's a typical classroom in Haiti. Notice there are no whiteboards or smart boards, or it's old school, really old school. Like I said, 100 years back. And then when I got to the island of Lagonave, which is another story, a longer story, I met this guy at the fountain. I went to the fountain to carry my water. You get your water at the fountain. I think you saw a picture of that. They usually carry 5-gallon buckets or those things that they had, but those are 3.5 gallons. This guy saw me sort of floundering at the fountain, and so he came and he signed language to me because it was when I was first there, didn't speak the language yet, and he took my bucket, and I thought, what's he doing with my bucket? Oh no. And then he went and stood in line, and I thought, oh, that's the line. And then he told me to go away, and I didn't understand, so I stood there. And then he left the bucket and came back and sort of turned me toward my direction home and said, go home. And then motioned that he would take the bucket and bring it to me on his head. So I kind of walked home nervously, and he showed up half an hour later with a full bucket. I was carrying half buckets because I can't carry 5 gallons of water 3 blocks. And he came back with a 5-gallon bucket on his head. School started shortly after I met T10. His name is T10. Well, his name is Stanley. We call him T10. Stanley came to get the bucket when school was already in session, and I said, wait, he's not going to school. I had an interpreter at the time helping me learn the language and interpreting for me. I decided to stay 3 months and see what I could do, and if I could get something plugged in and going, then I would stay. And so I hired this guy to come every day and be my interpreter. And so I asked him why Stanley isn't going to school. He told me his mother can't afford it. I said, well, I'd like to put him in school. His mother offered to give him to me. I said, no, I just want to put him in school. And I thought, this would be something I could do. I could sponsor kids, and I could come back to Palo Alto and ask people to help sponsor kids and start a program. So I piloted that idea with Stanley. First day of school is the picture on the left, and I guess it's the same for you as it is for me. And the other picture is his first report card, and he was thrilled and I was too, until I saw that he was 3rd from the bottom of his class, and he was in a kindergarten class with 5-year-olds. And I thought, no. He's 11, he should be the first at the top of the class. So I went and talked to the teacher, and he said, no, he doesn't do well, he clowns around, he doesn't pay attention. And I thought, oh, he's not being challenged, there's no remediation there. So I thought about what am I going to do about that problem. The whole thing is organic endeavor. To solve problems, you just have to see what the problem is and put your mind to it and try to overcome that obstacle. And the whole way it's been that. So Stanley, I thought, you know what? The money that I'm spending on putting Stanley in school, I could be spending on paying a teacher to teach 12 kids who are in the same position Stanley's in. So I tried that. This is our first day of that class. They're very sweet. This is the real first day. A couple of those pictures weren't the first day because there was a kid eating, and I'll explain that in a minute. But this is our first day, and we were thrilled to death. And this is the first teacher, and he's teaching them the vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. This, a couple weeks later, we realized kids were coming to school hungry, and they were nodding off. So we started feeding them, because they're food insecure, too. This is a really impoverished community. This is where we are, and this comes in later, but this is the land, and that half building kind of collapsed halfway during a hurricane. The middle building is where we hold classes, and the one at the far end is the little hut that I live in when I'm in Haiti. And I'm in Haiti for 2 months, twice a year, so 4 months in total. This is the school this is the room that we hold the school in, the classes. And here's our first week in school at this site. One of the classrooms that you saw earlier, we had rented for the pilot. And after 6 months, those kids who had never been to school before, never ever been in school, and they were between 9 and 12 years old, after 6 months, they were reading at a 2nd grade level. Ooh, gotta go. Oh wait, go back. So that's where we hold school. We have 3 levels, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. First is the first 2 years, 2nd is the 3rd and 4th grade, and then the 3rd level is the 5th and 6th grade. This is our group this year, and that was just this last September. And then, go. And that's a group, and the guy in the white shirt in the upper right-hand corner, that's Stanley now. Not now, that's about a year and a half ago. He's 19 now, and he's in the 10th grade. He had to do the 9th grade twice because he didn't pass. It's hard for them. So this is what's unbelievable and amazing about our program. The national average for passing that 6th grade matriculation test is 20%. Let that sink in for a minute. 20% of the kids are passing that matriculation exam. That's not okay. I'm a teacher. I was stunned when I learned this. Our first class, the first class that you saw, 62% of those kids passed the exam. The teachers were thrilled. Of course, when you compare that to 20%, that's great. But to me, coming from here, 62% is a fail. we need 80 to 90 to 100%. So since then, we tweaked the French. I realized that it was the French that needed more work, so we tweaked the French, and now we have a 100% passing rate every year. Here's one of our graduation ceremonies. We give the kids a certificate, and we have the whole community come, and we celebrate the kids. I bring teachers down to do projects with the kids. That was a PE teacher. This is a typical day in school. Other teachers coming down giving teacher trainings. I train other teachers in the community so that they can rise too. I'm not just about our group, I'm about the whole community. These are more teachers. 75% of teachers don't have enough training. 9th grade, the man you saw in the first picture of our first teacher, he was only a 9th grade educated man. I didn't know that. I looked around for a teacher and people applied and he was nice and I thought he would do a good job. He was only educated to the 9th grade. Now my teachers, I have expectations. These 3 have gone to, they have experience and they've gone to teacher training to some level. Not finished. These are typical things in our day. I take manipulatives with me from, I don't know if any of you know the base 10 blocks, but and maps. I found maps in Creole. They don't have these manipulatives. They don't have these resources. We do Reader's Workshop. That's just a nice, empowered picture. And then this is where we are. We have 36 kids enrolled annually. 74 have graduated from our program, and we assist 53 in secondary education. We now own the land that we've been leasing. We have a great command of respect from people in the community for what we're doing. And we're creating literate people. Parents have come to me and said, "Oh, thank you so much. My son Emmanuel is the first literate member of our family ever." To me, that's powerful. Like, wow, okay. So now we're building more classrooms because we want to increase our our impact. We're going to double our size. And Earthship Biotecture, I don't know if you know about Earthship, but they build using upcycled things, tires, bottles, and cannons. Oh, I didn't panic, but it didn't move. I'm going to go again. Oh, I didn't panic, it didn't move. There it is. That's our floor plan, or our model. 4 classrooms and 2 toilets with 2 cisterns to collect water. That's what an Earthship looks like when it's being built. You use the tires to make the walls. We have 1,000 tires on site. Come on. That's in process. And then the finished product, whoop, whoop, is that. That's what our classrooms will look like. This is a Puerto Rico build that the Earthship people built last year, or last spring, after their hurricane. This is just a quote that's important to me. Sergio Vieira de Mayo was a UN negotiator for refugee status, and a friend of mine gave me this book when I first went to Haiti, which is another story. I went to help after the earthquake and then started realizing education and the issues and decided to stay and help. So being able to walk in another's shoes is a very important aspect of working with other communities and other nationalities. That's a hard trick. And he says that to orient your activities less around democracy than around individual dignity. And that was powerful to me. And the best way for outsiders to make a dent in enhancing that dignity would be to improve their, and he means their own, like my own linguistic and cultural knowledge base, to remind, I see this as a message to me, to remind myself of my own fallibility and to empower those who know their societies best and to be resilient and adaptable in the face of inevitable setbacks. Ta-da. So that was my sources. Sorry you missed the sources if you wanted. And then this is how you can get in touch with us. And I know that was really fast and blah, 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 but I'm happy to talk more with you out in the sort of munching room. Yeah, please. And if you ever want to talk with me at any time, I'm happy to talk on the phone or meet you for coffee or whatever you want, because I love to talk about my work. It's very important, and I think helping people, when you have a privilege and an expertise, you should share it with anybody. Anybody. It could be your neighbor, it could be, elder people, younger people, people in another country. It just helps, because we all have that capacity. Thank you.
How do you say your name? The name?
How do I say it?
P
Guo Bien. Oh yeah, P Guo Bien, which is the greater good in Creole. So that's what we call our school, L'école P Guo Bien. And every morning at flag raising, I tell the kids, Kimu Nu, who are we? And they say, P Guo Bien. And so that's it. We're L'école P Guo Bien, greater good. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and in appreciation for your talk and your extremely good work, we have some home-baked bread and home-roasted coffee.